technology that was developed by that group of people back in the early 80s, and that made quality control and quality assurance an easier thing to do because it was all being produced by a computer that did repetitious work every time, and it really played out. That was a big part of it. Me as being a dealer, we didn't have to worry much about the QC and QA because it was done, and each of the product was signed off by inspectors, and it really took a load off of myself being out in the sales world of it, knowing that that I could stand behind the product because the product would stand behind me.
And all of the materials used in the aircraft were aircraft materials. It wasn't hardware store materials as a lot of other manufacturers used up to that time.
Right. That was a really innovative thing. What they did is it was actually engineered. It was engineered through process analysis, where the structure was designed, and then they did a finite analysis on all of the different components, on how the components were being used in the end result, where were the failure points, and how do we get around the failure points. So instead of just making the product big, bulky, and heavy from not knowing, that's the one aspect that was going on back in the day was, well, we'll just use a lot of tubing and a lot of bolts, and therefore it should be strong. Whereas the approach that they took, each and every component was engineered, it was computer designed, it was computer tested through the FEA programs that they had, and then the computational fluid dynamics systems that they ran them through, where all of the testing was done on computer first, and then what they did is they verified the computer testing by actual testing. And when you do that, you can bring every part down to its smallest, lightest part by using high-tech available materials that were available at the time. We've got the aluminum construction is basically 3 different types of aluminum. You had the 6061 T6, which is a seamless drawn tubing. At the time, that was very expensive and very difficult to get, and it had to be custom made and custom ordered. But Quicksilver made the commitment to do that, so all of their tubing was a seamless drawn method. And then, so we had the 6061, we had the 2024, and then on all of the stamp pieces, the flat parts they called them, was a 7075, which was a normalized aluminum. It was formed, and then it was heat treated up to the stress level that it needed to be, typically a T3. And then on all of the steel components that were done, virtually all the components are a 4130 steel, which is a 125,000 PSI steel, which is a common alloy in the aerospace industry, and that's what it was modeled after, aerospace. And so we took, there's a lot of things happen at once. The combination of production, the combination of customer support with the manuals, and then using available alloys that were not always the cheapest way to go, but it was the lightest, and had a lot of redundancy built into it.
How did Quicksilver then get to be a worldwide phenomenon rather than just a U.S. or a state phenomenon?
I think a lot of that was done through the early days because it was new, just like the microwave oven took off. It was a new and exciting thing. It was an easier way to cook food, a real uncomplicated way to cook food with the microwave. When this was introduced, it was an airplane that was available to everyday man. No matter what, if you had the desire to own an airplane, with the price that was coming out, the advertised pricing at the time was under $3,000 back then. That it was a way that anybody who wanted to fly could fly. You didn't have to go through the complexities of a pilot's license, or you had to fit in with the airport crowd. If you own some property, you could build the airplane, get an instructor, which is a little difficult to get back in the beginning, but you could get an instructor and learn how to fly the thing very, very safely. And so once that started getting out, that everyday man who wanted to fly, let's face it, a lot of people look at the sky and look at the birds and say, geez, I wish I could do that. And then once it was made available to them, it could be done. We did a lot of work with Popular Mechanics. We did a lot of work with Popular Science. We advertised in a lot of the worldwide magazines. That was some of the stuff that the beginning, you know, the people that started the company, that was one of the things that they did, is they looked at the world as a sales place, not just the United States. We had the manuals. I think the manuals were in different languages at one time. You know, so it was just a big effort. But the biggest thing, you know, if we were to surmise it in a few words, it was that if you wanted to fly, you could fly.
So we're talking in the early days of the 80s. We went through the 90s. We're 2009, 2010. Why is Quicksilver still basically at the forefront?
Well, we have the name recognition is still there. If you've got a you know, a product that has been around for a long time and has basically a very safe record, when people that, you know, the prices have climbed and stuff have climbed, we have more rules, regulations, and laws and compliances. When people are out looking for this type of aviation, open cockpit, simple to own, low cost to own aircraft, they start looking around and they see the lightweight structure of the plane, you know, the fact that the name has been there for so long and it has very little negative record, if you will. And, you know, when we see the guys that come up, just to give you a little story, we see the guys that come up, and the guys that know now, these are typically professional guys that have been in the real world. You know, one of the things they look at it, they start looking at it, talking to their friends, and we hear, you know, the type of words like quality, and, you know, I don't see too many NTSB reports on this thing. So a word that I shy away from is when people ask me how safe are they. I said, well, safety is the pilot. You know, that's how it goes. As far as the aircraft is concerned, to date, we have no structural failure of any properly maintained aircraft. So we have a good safety record. How safe is flying? That's a whole nother, you know, that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. But so when they look at that, they go, geez, you know what? When I was a kid, I heard of that name, and here they are. They're still here. You know, when we had a friend years ago had one of these, and he still has it. You know, so when they look at it, it's a name that they're comfortable with. It's not something new. It's not a new whiz-bang 2000 that's just been out for 2 years. When somebody looks at our product, they know that it's been out there for a long time. The ability to get replacement parts, the ability to get service, you know, the ability to find somebody that can help them with some technical issues. You know, they know that there's a whole group, a whole support structure out there that they can still get parts for. There's some aircraft out here people ask us about. They say, what do you think about that airplane? So the product is good, but the company is not around anymore. So where are you going to get your parts from? Who are you going to call for service? How do you know if, you know, how do you know what's going on with the product? So you don't, you know, so you don't really know what's going on with that. The fact that today, a customer walks up here today and says, I've been looking at this product for the last 10 years. I think I'm ready to get one. We have them now. They're available today. You know, we got the boxes. We can ship them out tomorrow if you want. You know, Quicksilver's strong. We're still here. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. So I think that's the big part of it. We've been on message from day one. You know, we're here, we're quality, we have the engineering behind us, we're very good, we have a great relationship with the FAA, we have a great relationship with the guys that make the rules and regulations, and oftentimes Todd is with the FAA constantly because they look at Quicksilver, because we have a track record that's been running for so long of being the exact same thing. They say, hey, what are y'all finding? You know, what are y'all finding about this? Or what's your ideas on that? Or what do you think about this? And the reason why they're asking Quicksilver that is because we've been around for a long time. And the product, frankly, hasn't changed. It's almost the same, product back in the 80s as it is today, except it's advanced a little bit. Your customers dictate what you do. And as long as this type of product is still selling, you know, as long as we have the reputation that we have, I don't see it changing very much. So I think it's the fact that it's been around for a long time and people are comfortable with an old name. You know, it's like kind of like an old shoe. They're comfortable with that, but still knowing that the engineering is still on top, product support is still available, replacement parts are still available, and quite frankly, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're still one of the lowest priced products on the market because we've been around for so long. This isn't a new thing. We're not experimenting. We're not testing. We're not doing any of that. We're just offering the same thing, the same product, the same comfort level today that it has been 20 years ago.
You say that, but in actual fact, you offer so many different things. This airplane can be flown